Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fight Game podcast. Today I'm very lucky to be joined by a fighter that I've been watching since his first amateur fight. Although that's not saying a lot because he only had 5 of them. Today I'm joined by Joe Hayden. When Joe was 20 he met Dave Allen, he was trained by Dave, he had 4 more fights and then he turned professional. At 26 years old he's 21-0 and currently working towards his first professional title fight, which comes on March 27th against James Atkins. This was a great chat. We spoke all things from having such little amateur experience, why he decided to make that decision to turn pro, and why, of all people who turn over too early, he seems to be making it work. I personally think that Joe is one of the brightest prospects in British boxing right now. Based on his lack of experience and what he's been able to accomplish so far, I do really think the sky's the limit and he's going to go a very long way. Thank you very much for being here and I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome back to the Fight Game podcast. I am very happy to be joined today by Joe Hayden, a rising prospect, as I'm sure many of you already know. So Joe, I start the podcast the same every time by just asking you in your own words to just explain who you are.
I'm a 21-0 professional boxer. Yeah, I didn't know what to explain myself then. Yeah, I'm a 21-0 professional fighter. Got my first title fight in 3 weeks' time, 3 weeks tomorrow. It's my 4th year as a pro, and not been boxing as long as people would think. Really, I've only been boxing properly probably 5 or 6 years. I think I'm just a good example of hard work. As if you want something badly and you work hard enough for it, then you can get there.
Yeah, 100%, man. So I remember when you first started appearing on social media, when you first started appearing on Dave's social media. So we should probably start by saying that you are trained and managed by Dave Allen, a national treasure. But as much as possible, I want to keep this about you, because a lot of the interviews and stuff that I come across with you, like when doing my research for this, it does get sidetracked talking about Dave quite a lot, which is understandable. But in that first, few months or first year where you got into boxing, how did you sort of strike up that relationship with Dave, and how did you find boxing coming from a football background?
So I got in touch with Dave through my little brother. We both boxed down at the local amateur gym, and I had a fight there when I was 19 and lost it, and then we went into COVID. So me and my brother were just training together through COVID in the garden, doing bits and bobs. And then we both knew Danny Morell because we went to school together, me and my brother and Danny. And he messaged my brother, asked him to come down body sparring down at Dave's. So my brother went down and I was at work that day. The day after, they went down again, so I joined that time. And then just from there, just kept going down, having a crack and stuff, and just sort of fell in love with it from there, really. I really enjoyed my training at this moment in time, but then the training with Dave got right into it, and made the decision to leave my amateur club and start training full time with Dave, and from never looked back from then on, really. But it was tough. It was very, very tough. The early days, the training was relentless, really, a bit ruthless. And Dave will tell you himself, I wasn't the most naturally gifted boxer. I think I was just stubborn and hard-working. And he tried to get rid of me with some sessions, really. He tried to stick me off to a point where I maybe go, it's not for me, this, and walk away from it. But just kept turning up day in, day out. And eventually, over time, the talent started to creep in a little bit. And yeah, just the same process over the last 5 or 6 years. Just kept turning up, kept giving it 100% every session, and we're here now.
Yeah, so as you said there, like 5, 6 years. When I was looking back on some posts, there's posts on like the infamous patio out the back of Dave's place, and they're from like late 2020, and they're the first sort of ones that start cropping up. And I was like, it's mad to think that in the last, not even 6 years, 5 years, you've gone from that position where, like you say, you had one amateur fight and you'd lost it at the time, to only having a handful of amateur fights, which I want to come on to now, but to 21-0 as a professional it's a rapid ascent. But going back to those amateur fights, what led to the decision to turn over pro after just 4 amateur fights with Dave?
Yeah, so basically I had not even a full season as an amateur. I think I had 4 months as an amateur, maybe. I think my first fight was September. Yeah, and then my last fight was December. Uh, so I had the 4 fights in that space of time, and towards the back end of it, we were struggling to get fights really, which sounds a bit mad, but I started having quite a few pullouts, and I went about 2 or 3 months without fighting, and I was fortunate enough. I dropped on with one of Dave's good mates and sponsors Straight Line, a company up in Newcastle. They offered to sponsor me and give me the opportunity to go full time with it. So we sat down and we weighed up options and thought about it, and it just made sense really with the opportunity that I could have got from sponsorship to turn over pro and just learn on the job really, and get all my in-ring experience on the job in the pros rather than in the amateurs. Dave's always said from day one, we're not worried about the amateurs. The amateurs obviously they're there for the experience, but the training that we do is for the pro game. So yeah, we took a probably, yeah, you would say it's a risk really. We took a bit of a risk with the lack of experience, and we went for it because it was too good of an opportunity to turn down, and we built it up very slowly. I think Dave's managed me to a T really. Built me up very slowly, got the experience in obviously 21 fights in 4 years, and I've got that experience now, and like I said, everything's worked out really well, and we're at the point now where we're ready to start fighting for titles.
Yeah, 100%, man. It is crazy to think, like, I've been around boxing like my whole life, and there's very, very few success stories of people who have turned over too early. Well, I say too early. Clearly, it was the right time for you. But I think when I had my fourth fight, I was like 11, and I was useless. So to think of like signing up, turning pro, it's a big jump. But as you say there, you had the sponsorship back in, and I think that's a huge advantage for someone in that position, because a lot of like these pros are turning over, and I'm sure you've been in this position since, where you're weighing up going to work full time as well as training and potentially family commitments. Obviously, you're not much older than me, so I believe at the moment it's just you, the missus, and the dog.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But to be in the position that you were, I think fair enough. Turning over pro, and I mean, as success stories go, so far you've made a good run of it. 21-0, I believe 10-0 in your first year as a professional. What was that first year like, being out almost monthly and just like you said, learning on the job?
You know what? It was good, man. I think the main thing was getting me comfortable and getting me confident of being in the ring and doing it under the lights for real. Because obviously you can spar and do as much bags and pads as you want, but when you're in there for real, it's a completely different ball game. And also with the lack of experience, I didn't really know how to handle it. So I was just, it's weird. I was sort of like a robot. Dave would control me in the ring, and literally like playing a video game from the corner. And it's sort of like a bit of a blur to me, those fights, because I never really knew what I was doing as such. It was just sort of get in there and listen to Dave and just do whatever he says. Really, I never had my own boxing brain. Never had the experience to be able to go in there and work things out for myself or know what to do. So it was a bit mad, but thinking back, like it was great times. 10 fights in a year is crazy, and obviously, like I said, I was fortunate enough. I think I sold tickets for maybe three of them fights. The rest of them I paid myself to box. I didn't sell tickets, just paid out my own pocket to go and box. But I saw it as an investment for the future, because that's what I needed to do, was get the experience to then get into the position where I am now.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a position it is. So going back a couple of fights ago, you had the opportunity to box at, I believe, was it the Sheffield? No, Sheffield Arena was one of the more recent ones. When you boxed Lewis Booth, that's a fight who, looking back at that record now, especially after this weekend, is it's a very, very good win. His only loss before that was to the current and new British champion, Konstantin Ursu. And so I think that win has aged very well. But you said after that fight, you really felt like the penny had sort of dropped and you were settling in as a professional. So what since that fight feels like it's changed?
This, like again, this camp. I was on the phone to my nutrition earlier. I was saying it like, I think because of the consistency where I'm always in the gym for the last 6 years, I've never missed a session. I'm always on my diet. I'm always doing everything properly. I give myself the best chance possible. And it's like, after a fight, I don't get to a certain point in a fight and then have a couple of weeks where I go back to the start and then rebuild up to that point for the next fight. I get myself to a certain point for a fight and then I stay at that point and push past it for the next one. And I feel like I've done that every fight, and every single time I've just improved and improved. And obviously, because I haven't got the experience, as the experience starts coming, I just keep sort of getting improving and improving all the time. And the Boo fight, I feel like it was probably the highlight of my career so far, experience-wise, because it was my first big step up, my first proper test. Obviously, it was at home in front of all the local fans, and it was like my first proper fight. And if I weren't on the ball, I'd have got beat. And I think if the fight was 6 months, a year early, I would have got beat as well. So it was perfect time for me, and I felt mentally and physically ready for that fight. And then the experience that I gained from it, 8 rounds, 8 good rounds where I had to really dig deep and push through to get through the fight and to win. Yeah, I think it brought me on a lot, but also I think confidence as well. It gave me a lot of confidence going forward.
Yeah, no, really, and what a performance! I remember watching it. I like those GBM shows are really good. They're really really good. And since then, since you said the pennies dropped, you seem to be sitting people down a little bit more. So since that fight, in your 3 fights since, you've had 3 knockdowns coming in the 2 previous fights. The most recent one, you had a fella who was tough as old boots,
He
who
was nails.
yeah, only I believe been stopped twice in something like 38 losses. And you know as well as I do, like on the journeyman circuit, only having a couple of stoppage defeats means you're a pretty good fighter. So how do you feel the power has developed? Do you feel like you're just sitting down more on your shots? Do you feel like you've sort of grown into the division more? Or is it just a case of being more relaxed in the ring and just taking your time finding the shots?
Yeah, I think it's the timing, getting that bit of snap in my shots now, getting the timing of the shots off a bit better, and yeah, just sitting down on them a little bit more. But this camp that I've just done for this fight is the first time where I've really felt myself growing into the weight properly, because we've never really fully known what weight I was going to do. We're floating between super lightweight and welterweight, but I feel like over this last 6 months I've sort of filled out into a proper welterweight now, and this camp sparring I've felt really good, and I feel like I've got that good mix now with the speed and the strength, and I've really felt it coming all together this camp, and I feel like my fights from now on, and especially pushing on, doing 10 rounds plus now, I'm going to start getting people out of there now with everything that's coming together.
Yeah, and I think that's clear. You know, you like I said, you've been in with good level. I mean, journeyman for the level you're at now is probably not even the right term. I mean, since the Lewis Booth fight, the fighters you've been in with have all but one had winning records, and I believe that was because of a late pullout, so it was a late replacement. And speaking of, this is your first title fight. Obviously, you were meant to have a title fight previously for the same belt, and the opponent fell out very short notice. So, how did you feel or how did you deal with the fact of going from the title being on the line, having a good opponent in front of you, to still having to fight on the card, but not having the same pressure or the same carrot dangling in front of you for the fight?
Yeah, it was very frustrating. I think when I found out that the opponent pulled out, I had about 5 or 10 minutes where I was just in my head, and I just thought, I don't even want to fight. Like, I'd rather be pulled off the card than box, and I was just deflated, as you can imagine. Like, an 8-10 week camp, got my weight right down. I felt great. I was only 2 weeks out from the fight, and obviously I'm buzzing for it. It's my first title fight, and then 2 days out, you get told that the title fight's off, and you're doing a 6 rounder instead of it. It's deflating and it's gutting. But then I just thought, I'm still boxing, still going to get the opportunity to box. Obviously not the fight that we wanted, the opponent that we wanted, but I'm still boxing at the end of the day, and it's out of my control. If it was something that I could have controlled myself, then fair, I'd get the frustration. But it was out of my control, and all I can do is control how I react, and I chose to react to it professionally and keep my head on, make the weight properly, and then just still put a good performance on for everyone, and then knowing that in the future I'd get that opportunity again, and here we are.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of learning on the job as well, is those feelings of like frustration and losing opponents last minute that a lot of people will deal with in the amateurs, and opponent changes, or even turning up to a show not knowing who you're fighting, not having done a whole camp of. You're learning that in the pro ranks, and that's a perfect example of that. But now
Yeah.
the shot at the title does come up again against James Atkins, who's 9-0. I'd say potentially the hardest fight of the career up to date. As we said, that Lewis Booth fight being there at the moment, and you're back at the Doncaster Dome where you've boxed previously. Just tell me about this fight and how you've prepared for it, and obviously how you think it's going to go.
Yeah, listen, I'm buzzing for it. Finally getting the title fight, my first step up, 10 rounder. Atkins looks like a good opponent. Obviously 9-0, undefeated himself. I don't really know much or see much about him, but not too bothered about that really. I just get in there and do what I do. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. This camp, I feel like I've gone up another notch. I feel like I said, each fight I've just got better and better. And this camp, I had a nice break over Christmas, because obviously last year was a busy end of the year boxing, September, October, November. And then after the fight in November, just had a nice rest, which is the first time I've had a proper rest in the 4 years I've been pro, really. So I've come into this camp really up for it, and now I feel like I've gone up another level this camp and gone up another notch, and I can't wait for it. I'm really up for it, and obviously back at Donny Dome, my own venue. It's only 10 minutes from my house, so it's class to box my first title in front of my own crowd, and bring the belt home. Yeah, I'm full of confidence for this fight. I can't wait for it. I think, like I said, I'm not seeing much of him, but I'm confident in my own ability, and I go into the fight full of confidence because I know that I've done everything I could possibly do in training camp. So on the night, I've just got to put on the show and prove to everyone that I've done the hard work. But no, I can't wait for it, man.
So that's interesting. So you say you haven't seen much of him, and you're not that bothered about it because you just do what you do. Do you have somebody in the camp who goes through any footage of the opponent, or is it just a case of get as good as humanly possible at your strategy, and then it's irrelevant what the opponent does, you just perform to the best of your abilities?
Yeah, that's it. I've never really been one for watching opponents. It's just literally focus on myself, get as good as my craft as I can, and then yeah, just go in there and do my thing. Obviously, what happens on the night, I'll adapt to it. But we've been learning. We've been in the gym for for a good period of time, for years now, and I'm confident that whatever situation or scenario I find myself in the ring, I can adapt to it.
Yeah, nice. And you are training at least partially in one of the best gyms in the country, up with Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis. Just talk to me a little bit about what it's like being in and amongst such high level athletes, but also such high level coaches.
It's class. I think being in the gym around people like that, it just gives you that extra bit of push and that extra bit of motivation to dig deeper in them sessions. You're looking around you and you've got top class fighters all around you, and everyone's there wanting the same thing, and everyone's pushing each other on, and it just really gives you that extra push when everyone's training just as hard as each other. It pushes you on, and it's good to be around Jamie and Nigel. The knowledge of the sport is brilliant, and they're always helping out with bits and bobs. Like when I'm sparring, they'll come over, watch sparring after, give me some advice, what to do, what I was doing well, what I weren't doing too well, and they're very helpful like that. And yeah, it's class. I've been up in Manchester now for the last 2 years, maybe, since we was obviously doing bits there when Dave boxed Fraser Clark. But I think full time we've been there about 2 years since the first Fisher fight, really. And no, it's been great. I feel like that's brought me on a ton as well. Just like you say, just being around people like that, because I'm very much a watcher. I like to sit back and watch people as well. I'll do my session, then I'll sit back and watch everyone else train as well. And I like to pick up things off other people as well. And I think it's been great for my career being around that sort of environment.
Yeah, I mean, so I was looking earlier at your box rec, and you're ranked now at, I believe it's 22 in the country at box rec. And there's a couple of people above you who I'm pretty sure have retired now. So if we call it 20, but above you in those welterweight rankings are two people who you would have trained with a lot at the gym in Connor Walker and Jack Catterall. Obviously, Jack's now moved on elsewhere. But it must fill you with confidence having been in and around these people who are not only operating at a high level, but they're operating at a high level at your weight class in the domestic scene.
Yeah, it's class. Like, and they're both top lads as well. Obviously, I did a lot of rounds with Jack in the past. But over the last 3 or 4 years, I've shared so many rounds with Jack, and obviously being at the same weight and being a southpaw, I picked up so many things off him, and just being in there, copying him. Like I say, sitting back, watching him train, see how he does things. The sparring and the rounds and the experience that I got through the sparring and just watching Jack train in general, that brought me on so much. And obviously Connor's been in the gym coming up to a year now, maybe. I lived with Connor for the last 6 months. I want to say 6 months, maybe, in Manchester when for the end of the Fisher fight and the McMurdo fight for Dave. We lived with Connor, and again, Connor's the same. He's just an absolute grafter, and it's class to be around these other people and see how they function on a day-to-day basis, what they do, and put that into my game, because Jack and Connor are both absolute professionals. They do everything properly to a T. So it's great to see how they do it and then add that into my game as well, and think I want to be like that. And where they are, that's my dream to where I want to get to. So I look up to Connor and Jack. I want to do what they've done in their careers. So it's great to be around them, training in and around them, learning from them, and hopefully get to where they are one day.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of your training for this upcoming fight, obviously we're now around 3 weeks out from fight night for you. So what does like a day in the life look like at the moment for you?
My life is it's just based on structure and routine, really, and it's boring, probably boring to most, but to me, it's I wouldn't change it for the world. I'd get up early, and we go to the gym between. Sometimes we're at the gym for 6 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes we're at the gym for 9 o'clock in the morning. So this morning we've had sprints, so I was on the hill for 6 o'clock this morning doing sprints. But I get up nice and early. I'll have a coffee, have my breakfast, We'll go train. I get back. I'll maybe have physio or soft tissue that day. Uh, get back from that, eat, train again, get back, go for a walk and rest. That my life is just literally eating, training, and resting. That's all I do. Nothing in between. I just it's the routine, the structure that I found myself fall into, and I like to keep that sort of routine going.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine as well that that is what's allowed you to sort of play catch up with these other people that you're going to be fighting against. You know, if you had the one amateur fight before starting up with Dave, that would mean roughly 20 years old when you started with Dave,
Yeah,
which for most people they're potentially looking at turning pro at that point after an extensive amateur career. So having that sort of structure day to day, I would imagine is what's leading you to so much success. So I think that that's definitely the way to do it. You know, you've got I saw you and your missus got your first house in November. Congratulations.
thank you, man.
And
Appreciate
like I
it.
say, and your dog. I actually wrote down in my notes for this. The note just says, "Very cute dog called Ralph." So I imagine there's a couple of dog walks every day with
That mate is
Ralph.
class. Yeah. You know what? Obviously, I had a dog back at home, and we've always said when we move out, we want to get a dog. We didn't expect it to be this early, but we just thought, sod it, just bit the bullet on it and got him. And nah, mate, he's class. And like I say, I'm out walking every day anyway, so he doesn't change my routine really. He just adds to it. And I've always said I want a dog that I can take running with me, and uh, and take on big walks. And obviously, cocker spaniels are full of beans, and he'll run all day. So got myself a new little running partner as well for them long boring runs when you can't really be bothered, but. He'll drag me through them. So now I'm looking forward to when he's old enough, I can start taking him out on runs and stuff like that.
That's it. Just be prepared. It's very demoralizing because you feel, and you're quick. You're a quick runner. They walk next to you, and you look at them and you think, "Fucking hell!" Like I'm putting in like effort here, and they look at you like I could stop, have a
That's what
shit,
you
go
do.
and sniff
Yeah.
something, and then like catch up with you. But so how I normally wrap up the pod is I like to ask people because I would like to think a lot of the people I have on over the years will come back on again and we can sort of look at how people's careers develop. Is where do you see yourself a year from now? But I feel like for you, it's a little bit of a more in-depth question because you're really hitting what I think will be a little bit of a launch pad for your career. So I'm curious where you think you are a year from now and do the fights start to slow down from here as the stakes get higher and if you feel like obviously you never stop learning but now maybe the apprenticeship is over.
Yeah, definitely. The apprenticeship is over now. Yeah, I would agree with that one. I think I've got the experience, and I've learned what I need to learn now to start pushing on. And I feel like this year, like you say, I think is the breakthrough year for me, where the next 3 or 4 fights that I have this year will really propel me up the rankings and get me into a position where I want to be in contention then for the British title. And which, if you'd have said that to me 4 years ago when I first turned pro, obviously part of me, we're all a bit delusional as boxers. Part of me would have said I can do that no problem, but then obviously it would have been far, far, far from reality to even say to me 4 years ago that you'll be boxing for a British title one day. I'd have probably took a Central Area title back then when I first turned pro. But I think this is the fun and exciting part of my boxing journey. Really, is because I never had the amateur the amateur fights. There's no expectations on me, so there's no pressure to win a British title really because nobody knows where I'm going to end up. If I keep improving the rate I'm improving, then you never know what titles I could end up boxing for. But I think that's the exciting part is there's no ceiling really, and that's what sort of pushes me on because I just think as long as I give my all every day in training, in every fight, whatever I achieve in boxing, I'll be happy with because I never come into the sport with an expectation to achieve a set goal. I just come in it for the enjoyment and the love of the sport, and whatever happens in this journey happens, and I can end my boxing journey, go back to work, and be happy that I give it a good go. But a year from now, I think I'd pick 2 or 3 belts up, potentially an English title by the end of the year, which would be nice. And I want to be right in contention for the British title in a year's time, definitely.
Yeah, and there's great fights there to be had. I mean, when you're looking through the BoxRec rankings for welterweight in the UK, it is just a who's who. I think we're really blessed domestically. We've got some fantastic fighters, and again, I feel like you're on that launch pad now, where over the next year, these people start to be across the ring from you, and those are the ones you start breaking onto the big shows as you have done previously, but much higher up the card, and you never know, maybe Dave's on your undercard in a couple of years' time.
That'd be nice. That'd be a bit crazy, wouldn't it? But yeah, that's the goal, to get my name in the mix with these other top welterweight fighters. Like you say, the welterweight scene at the minute in Britain is it's one of the best, really. So just to get my name in the mix with those sort of lads, I've done something right.
Absolutely, mate. So, of course, I want to wish you nothing but the best for March the 27th at the Doncaster Dome against James. I forgot his name. James Atkins, isn't it? I nearly said Jake.
Yeah.
It is James Atkins. Wanted to check. I don't want to do this geezer a disservice just before he takes his first L. But I want to wish you nothing but the best, mate, and I'm really grateful for you coming on. I really appreciate it. This will literally be the 3rd episode of the pod, so I appreciate you getting in early and jumping on.
No, mate, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, man.
You're very welcome, mate, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you again soon.
Hopefully with a belt over my shoulder.
Absolutely, mate. Take care of yourself, and best of luck for the end of the month.
Cheers, mate. All the best.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Fight Game podcast. I genuinely thought that was fantastic, and I can't wait to have Joe on again after he goes 22-0 and picks up that belt. I want to say a big thank you to Joe, as well as, of course, a big thank you to you for being here. From now on, episodes will be coming out every single Monday, as well as bonus episodes on a Thursday when I have time to film them. I really appreciate a subscription, and more than that, if you could share this with a friend who you think will enjoy the conversation, you've gone up in my estimation. If you thought that interview was good, then YouTube has decided that this is the next video you should be watching. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.